Hi everyone, welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
I'm Mike.
And yesterday we learned about gazpacho soup, which is a Spanish tomato soup that's served cold.
Right, a cold soup. And of course we brought this up because we're at the end of a hot summer in Taiwan. There's a few more warm months ahead probably. So maybe a cold soup on a hot day is just the thing you're thinking of. What is gazpacho? Well, let's find out. It says it has tomatoes, peppers, not the spicy peppers, the big green bell peppers, those types. Tomatoes, peppers, onions, bread, and a few other things. Simple things that anyone can find even here in Taiwan. Even if it's from Spain, the ingredients are very common. But that's kind of the traditional classic gazpacho. But we also learned, and I didn't know this, we learned yesterday about different types of it from different parts of this country of Spain.
Yeah, in other parts of Spain, they make this soup in a slightly different way. They might add local ingredients like grapes, oranges, almonds, eggs, and ham and stuff. We also learned that this soup is an old dish. It's as old as the Romans coming to Spain, so over 2,000 years ago. However, the peppers and tomatoes were most likely introduced from the New World by Spanish explorers. They went to the Americas, found these new vegetables and fruits, brought them back to grow in Europe and thought, hey, let's stick them in our soup.
There you go. It's very delicious. It's a lot of raw vegetables, got olive oil in there, so it's probably really good for your body, not fattening and healthy fats for your heart and stuff. And it says it's great for keeping you cool on a hot Spanish summer day. I think sometimes they even serve it with like ice cubes in it.
Nice.
So the ice, melts and keeps it cold, keeps it nice and light, not too thick. So you really can. It's basically a soup designed for when it's too hot for soup. Here's cold soup. Enjoy. Today we're going to learn how to make it so you can make your own gazpacho.
All
well,
right.
you will be able to after our article.
Reading.
Stay cool with a bowl of Spanish gazpacho. Are you wishing for a bowl of cool gazpacho now? You're in luck. You can follow these directions to make one yourself. Ingredients: 6 to 10 large tomatoes, 1 medium cucumber, 1/2 small red onion, 3 garlic cloves, 1 red or green bell pepper, 1/2 cup old white bread pieces, 2 tablespoons red wine vinegar, 3 tablespoons olive oil, 1 teaspoon salt, black pepper to taste. First, cut the tomatoes and bell pepper into big chunks and chop the cucumber, onion, and garlic into tiny pieces. Combine them with vinegar, olive oil, and salt in a food processor. Place the bread pieces in the soup for 10 minutes to make them go soft. Blend this mixture until it's smooth and thick. Taste and season as you prefer. When it's ready, pour the gazpacho into a bowl and chill it in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 hours. To serve, pour the soup into bowls and add a little olive oil and black pepper. You can improve the flavor with sour cream or cut vegetables. It'll be such a delicious dish that you'll want to make it again and again.
All right, so the article begins with a question to kind of get our mind into this topic, get us thinking, and get us maybe even going, I'm hungry. Are you wishing for a bowl of cool gazpacho now? You could be thinking, I'm hungry, or I'm really hot. But in either cases, a cool bowl of soup might be just the thing right now.
Yep, and if you are wishing for one, the article says you're in luck.
Oh, it's my lucky day.
Yeah, you can follow these directions to make a bowl of it yourself.
Cool.
To be in luck. If you are in luck, this phrase means that you're lucky, that things are going to be good. There's been some kind kind of fortunate coincidence and you will get something good out of it. They might say, oh, you're looking for a new place to live? You're in luck. I just heard my friend's moving out. You want a new job? You're in luck. I know there's a place in my office where you could come and work.
And you're out of luck. That means no, sorry, it didn't work out. But yes, we could also say it's your lucky day, meaning here's some good news, some surprising news that you will be happy about. So let's check out the directions for how to make gazpacho. Before we do that though, directions basically telling you what to do. This is probably instructing you or teaching you how to do something you've never done before. They want you to succeed though, so the directions will be laid out maybe by number 1, 2, 3, do this first, second, third. And the idea is if you follow the directions, you will be able to be successful. You will be able to use the machine, build the table, understand the computer software you just bought, the game that you just bought, something like that. So directions are what we read basically, or listen to when someone is teaching us what to do in a very logical, step-by-step kind of way. A recipe will have directions, and it will also just list all the things that you need to make the food. Once you have those things, follow the directions, you'll be eating in no time. For example, the table you built only has 2 legs. Are you sure you followed the directions? I think most tables have at least 3. Maybe 4.
Yes.
So I don't think you followed the directions.
Something's not right.
Something didn't go right there.
So these directions start with the ingredients.
Right.
Most recipes like this do. You need to know what to get before you start cooking or preparing it.
Always read the ingredients and the directions before you start cooking.
And the word ingredient, of course, is the foods or a food that makes up a dish. All the vegetables, the spices, the meat, whatever you need that goes together in some way to make this dish, those are the ingredients.
That's right. So you'll see a list of things, collect all those things, make sure you have the right amount, and then you can start putting the food together. So let's look at the ingredients. Let's look at the things we need to get from the store or from our fridge at home before we can actually make the gazpacho. Pretty simple though, that's the good news. 6 to 10 large tomatoes. All right, so that's a little vague, 6 to 10, I guess, you know, if the tomatoes are this big, you might need 10. If you get those giant, what we might call beefsteak tomatoes, maybe only 6. So a reasonable number, maybe enough tomatoes for 4 people to eat in a salad, something like that. Then get yourself 1 medium cucumber. Not sure if this is the big cucumber or the smaller cucumbers, so you might want to check that out, find out more information. Half a small red onion, and 3 garlic cloves. I would probably pick 4 or 5 garlic cloves.
Yeah.
I find a lot of recipes, not enough garlic. I like garlic. But when you get 1 little piece of garlic, that little piece, not the whole thing that you break, once you break that whole piece of garlic and you get those little pieces, each one might be about that big, that's what we would call a clove.
Okay, let's continue with the ingredients. 1 red or green bell pepper.
Just we'll change the color.
Yeah, either way. Half a cup of old white bread pieces. Maybe you've got a few slices of bread in your fridge. You haven't really used them.
The end of the bread.
Yeah, you don't really want to make a sandwich because the bread's a bit old, but you could use it in this soup.
Right, you might leave it out on the counter overnight to dry out a little bit. That's okay.
Yeah. So then 2 tablespoons, that's the larger spoons, of red wine vinegar.
Okay.
3 tablespoons of olive oil.
Okay.
1 teaspoon, that's the smaller one, of salt.
A big pinch.
Yeah, and black pepper to taste.
Okay.
This phrase to taste you'll see in many recipes. It just means use as much as you would like. If you don't like pepper, just put a little in. If you like more pepper, use more pepper. To taste means the amount to give you the flavor you like.
Okay, the good news there, of course, is that you can keep trying the soup until you found the exact amount of salt and pepper you like. You just add a little bit more. But be careful, because once you put it in, you can't take it out.
Yes.
So do be careful when you're doing that. All right, so now we have all the ingredients. Let's go to the directions. Let's go to what we do step by step to make this dish. First, cut the tomatoes and bell pepper into big chunks and chop the cucumber, onion, and garlic into tiny pieces. All right, so the bigger vegetables get cut into bigger pieces, the smaller ones into smaller pieces. But basically, this is a lot of knife work. You will be cutting up a lot of things. The bigger pieces, though, as we saw, there weren't pieces, they were chunks. All right, so when we use this word chunk, when we're talking about things, especially things that we're breaking or cutting up, think of this as a piece of something, but probably a fairly large piece of that something. You're not cutting it very carefully, so it's beautiful and thin and straight lines. No, you're just very, very roughly, not carefully at all, chopping something. If you're chopping a tomato into chunks, you might cut it into just 4 big pieces or something like that. So you're not cutting it into tiny little pieces, you're not cutting it into a beautiful shape. No, probably if you're cutting it into chunks, you're gonna cook it, you're gonna mix it, you're gonna break it up in some way. You're just taking something quite large and making it into slightly smaller pieces, but not tiny, quite large pieces. In fact, these are chunks. And the good way to get a chunk is to chop.
Right, to chop is to cut or slice, but in a rough way. You're not going very carefully, I'm going to make these nice long thin pieces here, or little squares that are going to look beautiful. No, I'm just fairly quickly chopping it, cutting it, slicing it into smaller pieces. And in fact, you might not be using a knife at all. You could be using an axe on wood.
True.
That would also be chopping. You might say, we need to chop those logs into firewood before we can start building the fire. So again, with an axe, you're not trying to carve it into a very nice piece of beautiful wood. You're just going bang, bang, bang until you've got smaller bits.
Exactly. Think of that big knife in the kitchen that your grandmother might use to cut a chicken into 4 pieces. And you're actually often, when you're chopping, you're also using a fair amount of power.
Yes.
Compared to cutting like a tomato very carefully. With this, you're really using some effort, a big knife, big pieces. You're not being super careful. So once you've got all the vegetables cut up into these different sizes, combine them with vinegar, olive oil, and salt in a food processor. So we have this food, now we need some liquid to kind of break it up. Remember, we're making soup. So put all of this stuff with some vinegar, olive oil, and salt into a food processor. What is a food processor? It's a very specialized kitchen tool or kitchen machine that we can use to cut things up very, very quickly. It's a good way to take things that are quite big and turn them into, well, liquid almost very, very quickly. You could do it by hand. You can cut and press and bash and smash, but you can put it into a food processor. It has a blade at the bottom that spins really, really fast. Put your vegetables in, turn it on, and all of a sudden you have liquid vegetables. You've turned your salad into soup in seconds.
Yeah, you could also use food processors. You make juice in them.
Sure.
You could use them to cut a big block of cheese into, small bits of cheese.
Sure.
You could use it to make and mix dough, depending on what kind of things they've got and how many functions they have.
It's a mixing, cutting machine that basically saves you lots of time and energy.
Indeed.
It can be hard work doing that by hand.
Right. So the article then says, place the bread pieces in the soup for 10 minutes to make them go soft.
Okay, that's a good idea. So that will pick up the liquid and the bread, of course, will become softer. And then back in the food processor, probably blend this mixture until it's smooth and thick. It should basically be like a thick soup, the way you would imagine once you've blended all this stuff together. We do actually have a machine called a blender in the kitchen that you can use to make milkshakes and smoothies and things like that. But I think the food processor will blend things well. It's just basically mixing them really, really, really quickly with a lot of energy so things get mixed really well in a very short amount of time. And it's also kind of cutting it up. That's important because you want it to be smooth once you're finished.
So when we're describing something as smooth, then we're describing usually a liquid or a liquid mixture. It has no big pieces in it. It's not lumpy. It's not very sort of thin and thick and all a bit mixed together. It's nice and even. We're talking about texture in the mouth. We're talking about how it looks, not full of bits and lumps and stuff. It's just nice and smooth and even. For example, Ricardo prefers peanut butter with little pieces of peanuts in it to the smooth kind. You can buy one kind of peanut butter with lots of bits and nuts that are quite thick, or you can buy smooth peanut butter where it's just all like butter with no visible peanuts. So there we go. We've got this smooth mix, all the vegetables and the vinegar and oil and the bread has all been mixed to this nice smooth. Basically, it's now the soup.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Well, you not quite eat it, but you can get ready to eat it. But remember, we talked about salt and pepper to taste. Now taste and season as you prefer. Yeah, when you see that word season in a cookbook or in a recipe, it basically means add salt and pepper as you prefer, or to taste. Season to taste, we could say. But seasoning is really just adding salt and pepper, just a little bit more if you think it needs it, so it tastes perfect.
The article then says, when it's ready, pour the gazpacho into a bowl and chill it in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 hours. Of course, we're going to make this a nice cold soup.
Yeah.
So to pour, it's kind of like saying to drop, but you use pour, you could use it for maybe sand or something very, very small, but generally we mean pour with liquid. I'll pour you some tea. Pour me a glass of water, pour me a cup of coffee, to get it from a high place to a lower place, but in a careful, controlled way, so you don't spill it or anything like that.
So if I take a big thing of water and just put it over my head, I'm not really pouring it.
No, that's not a pour.
But if I do it carefully into a smaller thing, then I would want to pour it, otherwise it'll be a mess.
Exactly. Here's an example sentence. Sophia poured a tiny amount of cream into her coffee. Nice and careful.
She's being careful. That's good. And also not making a big mess. All right, we also had these words chill and refrigerator in that sentence. They're pretty well related. Let's find out about them. All right, so here, chill, we're using it as a verb. It basically means just to cool something down, to get something from a higher temperature down to a lower temperature. When we're talking about food, probably because that lower temperature is the way the food should be served. It's the way the food will be made fully ready by getting it at a lower, cooler temperature. You can chill yourself, maybe by drinking a cold drink or standing in front of a fan. We can also, of course, use this word chill as a verb to say, hey, relax, man. Chill. Don't be so excited. It's like you're getting hot emotionally and they want you to cool down, calm down, be cool, man. Just chill, because you're going from hot to cool, from angry to relaxed. And of course, with food, we're talking about making it, probably putting it in a fridge to make it cooler. For example, after you make the salad, put it back in the fridge to chill until dinner, because if you leave it out, it'll get warm, and that might not be so good. Now, if you are going to chill something, your best friend in the kitchen is the refrigerator. This is that very large piece of equipment almost everyone will have in their kitchen, maybe a smaller version, but most of them are quite big, and it's a box that's very cold. We plug it in, it's a machine that runs all the time, and it keeps our food around 4 degrees above zero, so it's nice and cold. There might be an upper area called the freezer, F-R-E-E-Z-E-R. That's where you put your ice and your ice cream. It's below zero. The refrigerator is the whole thing. And of course, in the lower, bigger area, that's where we put our milk and eggs and butter and vegetables and fruits to keep them cold in the refrigerator, or, since it is a long word, we often just call it fridge, F-R-I-D-G-E. Put it in the fridge if you want it to chill.
So the article is, we've kind of learned how to prepare it, to blend it, we've learned how to chill it.
Yep.
So now let's get to the next or almost final part, to serve. Pour, there's that verb again, the soup into bowls and add a little olive oil and black pepper. So you'll have this kind of big pot or bowl of soup that's been in the fridge getting cold. Now you're serving it into the bowls, 5 people, 5 bowls, and in each one you're adding a little more olive oil and a little more pepper just to give it that kind of final touch.
Yeah, and it'll look nice too. That little bit of golden olive oil, a few black pieces of pepper. Some people put some green parsley leaves.
Yes, yeah.
This is really just to make it look nice when you give give it to the person eating.
Yeah, that is the idea of serving the food. It's also called plating the food in the restaurant industry. Particularly, it basically means to get the food out of the pot, the pan, wherever it is, and put it on plates or bowls that people would use when they eat. And of course, you want to do this in a nice way. You want the food to look good.
There's your gazpacho. Shut up and eat it.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, maybe if you're at home, you're just going
That might be
food
okay.
onto plate, food onto bowl.
Don't talk.
Right. You serve it, you put it on the table in front of them, and then they eat it. But in a restaurant, you'd serve it. You'd put a bit more presentation of where you put the food and what you put on top. But it's basically that final step of food is on the plate, in the bowl, and brought to the person. For example, we'll serve the soup first, followed by a salad, then the main course, and finally dessert.
Okay.
So it's the order in which the food is brought out to the people who are eating.
There you go. So that would be a really nice basic gazpacho. If you're trying it for the second or third time, you might want to try a few simple things to make it a little different. It says you can improve the flavor with sour cream or cut vegetables. So those are some other things you could add in, some sour cream. It's kind of like yogurt, Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
It's a little bit sour. It will give it that creamy milkiness. Maybe change it from like a dark red to a kind of dark pink kind of color. That's popular. And cut vegetables. So basically any of the vegetables in there, some carrots, whatever, cut them up into small pieces. Use it as decoration, use it as color. And of course, when you have your soup and you get a crunchy piece of cucumber, that might be kind of nice. It just makes it a little surprising and different.
So the article finishes by saying, it'll be such a delicious dish that you'll want to make it again and again. So this sentence pattern here, such a something, that something something. Now this phrase or this pattern is used to say that a particular thing has great qualities, is something, or very strong or very large qualities, but also to show the result of this thing having this particular large quality. It could be a good or bad quality, but it has an effect. And the effect or the result is introduced by the that clause. Now, with the such and that, it's used with a noun, but there's usually an adjective to modify it. Such a delicious dish, such a beautiful day, such a great movie, such an awful smell, something like that. That and then the result. For example, it was such a boring class that Andrew fell asleep. This is such a great book that I want to tell all my friends about it.
Okay, or it was such an awful smell that I couldn't finish my gazpacho.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Well, hopefully you guys follow that recipe and the directions. Try it sometime, see if you like it. But that's all we've got time for, except our For You Chat question. Let's go that now.
For You Chat.
So what are some other kinds of food you can make without heating anything, and how?
A banana.
Well,
you peel it and then you eat it. Yes, what an answer.
I mean, a sandwich.
Sandwich?
If you bought the things, maybe some of them will have already been cooked. But you could just get a sandwich.
True, you can warm up parts of the sandwich, but you can also eat it cold. We mentioned a salad.
Right, of course.
You can also warm up things in a salad, but most salads, well, at least most parts of the salad will be cold, no cooking required, so that's good.
Something like that. There are no-bake cheesecakes that I've heard of.
Really?
I'm sure there are a few things like that. The way you prepare it, but again, maybe some of the stuff has already been heated by somebody else.
Okay.
And you're just not putting it in the oven.
True. Ice cream. You can make ice cream without heating anything.
Yes,
It's really hard and takes a really long time, but technically when you make ice cream, you're not using heat in any part of it, just a lot of muscle power.
If you've got the time, you can do cold brew tea and coffee where you leave it in the fridge.
That's true, Normally you warm up the water for tea and coffee, but you can do it cold.
There's ways you can do that with oats as well. Normally with instant oats, you put hot water on them and they're ready in a few minutes. But if you leave it in the fridge with yogurt and other stuff, you can eat it in the morning if you do all the prep work and there's no heating there.
Interesting. So there's just a few examples. Can you guys think of any other things that you can make without without heating anything. Probably good recipes for hot summer months. And hopefully we'll have fewer and fewer of those as we head towards the fall. But if it does get warm again, maybe try some gazpacho. It's a salad in a bowl.
Nice.
Very nice.
All right, that's all the time we've got. Thanks for watching. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Mike.
We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Buenos dias.
Vocabulary Review.
Directions. Read the directions on the package to learn how to make these noodles. Chop. To start, use a knife to chop the tomatoes into small pieces. Smooth. Use a fork to mix the eggs until they're a smooth liquid, and then put the liquid into the pan. Pour. Susie opened the bottle of orange juice and poured herself a glass. Chill. William wanted to drink something cold, so he put a bottle of water to chill in the refrigerator. Serve. Usually this burger is served with fries, but you can have a salad instead.
智慧小补帖。
Ingredient: clove, chunk, blend.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000。02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net